Hi everyone, and welcome to another Linfield Coaches CatChat. Joe Stuart here with new Linfield Wrestling coach, Frank Johnson. Frank, welcome to McMinnville, welcome to Linfield. I know you've been here for a few months, but we're all really glad to have you as a part of the team, and it seems like you guys have been working pretty hard here to start the preseason.
Yeah, really good to be here, really good to be here.
So you've had a long career in this sport, particularly in the collegiate levels. Why don't you tell us all about kind of your career before Linfield and just what this transition has been like coming to McMinnville and what the last 6 months of getting your feet under you here at Linfield's been like.
Sure. I've been a wrestling coach since I graduated from college. I was a high school wrestling coach in Hawaii, came back to my hometown and took over my own alma mater, and then was only there for a year before the Pacific University job opened up. So I coached there for 5 years right here in the Northwest Conference. And then went from there to another high school job, then to another college job at Warner Pacific University. And while I was at Warner Pacific, we actually started 11 new wrestling programs in the Cascade Collegiate Conference. And so we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that again here. I left there, went to Colorado for a short stint. I was asked to coach a high school team there, and then got the call from Linfield, and I couldn't be happier to be here.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you here too, and then you're going to get to, of course, to have your kids compete against your old school too here in a few weeks, and we'll get into the season coming up in a little bit. But just obviously first year program. I mean, there's or now a second year program when you taking over only 1 year for the team. So what's kind of your assessment of both sides, both the men's and women's sides overall, with your first approach? Obviously, you still haven't seen them compete yet, so that obviously goes a long way. But just through training and through getting to know the athletes, what's your assessment?
I'm really blown away with the quality of individuals we have on both the men's and the women's team, and just the way that they care for each other, the way they treat each other, and they're all really hard workers. So that gives myself and our other coaches really high hopes for them in the future. Right.
I mean, that goes a long way, right? As far as building the culture, the fact that that's already there. I mean, wins come, that kind of thing, but you got to get that sort of stuff down first, right?
Certainly.
So let's get into the preseason training. What's been a lot of the stuff that you guys have been focusing on here? You mentioned hard workers. Sounds like you guys have been doing some pretty intense workouts here to start the season. But what are the biggest things you've wanted the team to focus on?
So I do things a little differently than they've done before. So our different drill systems, different, just getting them used to the technical aspect of how I do things. And so that's been a little different. It's been really easy with Alyssa, our assistant coach. She's a 2-time world bronze medalist. And
Not bad.
It's amazing to have her in the room. The kids really, really listen to her. She is easy to work with, and I think we're going to work together for lots of years. And a real key thing about this beginning has been Tim Hess, our character coach. The biggest goal we have right now really has nothing to do with wrestling. We're trying to get them to be a family, and they've been super receptive. And we've got another volunteer coach who's actually our strength and conditioning coach, Lucas Higginbotham, who is the hardest worker that I have ever coached in my life. He's now out of college, working here in McMinnville actually, and he serves as our strength and conditioning coach, and he's added tons to what we're doing. But more than anything, we're just trying to become a family.
Fantastic, yeah. Like we just talked about, that's the key. That's the key principle. But let's dive into some individuals. On the men's side, obviously the big star, Jacob Barnes. We all know him. Obviously, anybody that had been around McMinnville High School athletics, well familiar with not just him, but the entire family dominating the 6A wrestling scene. But after a 27-4 season last year, what are your expectations for him going into his now junior year academic, but just sophomore eligibility-wise?
Sky's the limit. Yeah, sky's the limit with him. He's, he walks around 6'5", 290 pounds, but he can do things that a little guy could do. So I think the most important thing for Jacob is going to be getting him competition throughout the season, because we're in a really tough region, and we have the kid who was third at Nationals last year, I think he lost twice, is in Jacob's weight. It's funny, we don't call him Jacob. He's Barnes, because we have 3 Jacobs.
Right.
So one is Jarvis, one is Jacob, and one is Barnes. Yeah. So Barnes, and I know people here call him Jake, but just to get the right kind of looks for him to have the competition that he's going to have at the end of the year, because if he just has a bunch of pins and he beats everybody early on, he's not going to get tested. We got to get him tested.
Sure.
So
on the women's side, Claire Flatt, 12-8 last year as a freshman, and somebody who always seemed to bring a ton of energy to the mat. What have you liked about her here through the first couple months of training?
Oh, she's a gem. She and actually Cammie Hart are two, I don't know if you want to call them managers, but they do the laundry every day. They're two of the people on, and I, you talk about the men's team, the women's team, it's one team.
Sure.
We're one team. We have two separate practices, but those two have just been stellar for me. And Claire is very athletic. She can do just about anything we ask her to do. She can do it with a little bit of practice. So again, with her, I have really high hopes for her. I don't think she's even close to meeting her ceiling. She's so much potential.
Two other freshmen last year that had big seasons, Emily Solinger and Ayana Medina, both made big impacts in their first seasons, long runs in the postseason. What do you think? I mean, the same deal with them. Is it just keep getting better and the sky could be the limit?
Certainly. With Ayana, she's technically probably our best wrestler. And I say that as our best wrestler overall, not just on the women's team.
Oh, wow.
She's very, very good, and she has tremendous work ethic, and she's a high school All-American. You probably knew that already, but I think she could be an All-American this year. I think she could just take that a notch higher. And Emily and Ayana both, I think they've missed maybe 1 or 2 practices total, and I'm counting both the men's and the women's. They pop into the men's practice and do extra training every day. They're really, really focused. And Emily actually she's gone above and beyond. She was our first champion of character. She's found us an Airbnb in Canada for 3 days, the price of 1 night in a hotel. So we're going to be able to do some team building stuff while we're there without it costing us extra money. Really focused. Those 3 girls are, I know I say this all the time, but sky's the limit.
When you mentioned the term champion of character there, tell us a little bit about that.
So I've chosen the first 2, myself and the coaches. On the men's side, the first one was Frog, Julian Ortiz, and on the women's side, the first one was Emily. So we used to call it Wisdom Wednesday or Wednesday Wisdom. Now we call it Thursday Thoughts. So we have 2 days a week, we do a 1-hour practice and a 1-hour weightlifting session. So it's strength training. We just do live wrestling, and that's the way that we schedule our training. So they've got really intense practice for a short duration, then they get a little break, and then they have the team together lifts. And then after that 3 o'clock lift, we come in the wrestling room and have a meeting with our champion of character coach, with our character coach. And then we just have different lessons with them that got someone coming in. Different lessons with them that are just life lessons. And we also were working with their career development department, and John Olson comes in and works with them as well. But we pick one, and now that we've picked one for each team, they will then each week pick one and tell us why. Then their teammates talk about them, and it's just the things that they do off the mat, and that's been really well received as well.
So I imagine as you go up to Canada this weekend, for the duel against Simon Fraser in the Simon Fraser tournament, and we could talk about what you want to see technically, what you want to see effort-wise, but it sounds like what you want to see is the team really coming together on this trip. Absolutely, and technically, I'm not looking for anything technically, except that they give their all, so we know what we need to work on. If they don't go push themselves and go all out, they're not going to engage and make the mistakes that we can then correct in the wrestling room. So we just need them to go really hard, and if they do, we're going to see what their limit is, right, physically, and then we're going to see what they're doing technically as coaches, and we'll get together and we'll be able to work on those things. And what they do this weekend will inform how we practice next week, and then going into the Mike Clark Open, and then the Spokane Open, and our first home duel between those 2. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great start to the season, and sounds like they're going to be able to really compete freely, and I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining and energetic up there. I'm excited to see the results. Yeah. Once again, the Wildcats will be up in Canada, up in Burnaby, British Columbia, to take on Simon Fraser in a duel on Friday night before the Simon Fraser Open on Saturday at 9 a.m. Wildcats will be having their home opener on November 16th against Pacific here in McMinnville, and we sure hope you come down to Ted Wilson Gymnasium to check it out and cheer on the Cats all season long. Coach, thanks for the time and good luck this weekend. Thanks. Appreciate it.